What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about sets that are about to go out of print, which ones you should be looking out for, and which ones I would suggest are probably going to be the best buys as of right now going into 2026. First one we're going to talk about on which ones are going out of print and which ones are not going to be as widely available as they are now. We have to discuss regulation marks. So regulation marks are going to be cards that have a specific letter associated with them to say which ones are no longer available to play in the actual trading card game. Now, the last ones that cycled out as of April of this year, 2025, they had the regulation marks of F, which were the following: Brilliant Stars, Astral Radiance, Lost Origin, Silver Tempest, and also Crown Zenith. Now, if you've ever looked at a card itself on the front of the card, on the bottom right, on the bottom left of all the cards, they have not only the set logo, or in this case now they have the set name, the abbreviation, but they also have this little tiny letter. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it. But right there's a little letter for F. Now, this is the Pikachu from Crown Zenith, the secret rare. So most of these were already pretty sold out by the time they cycled out in April 2025. But Crown Zenith was pretty widely available going into the holidays of 2024. A lot of the times you were able to see the Sea and Sky boxes everywhere. But now what we're kind of talking about are what's being rotated out going into 2026. So those are going to be the ones following. As you can see in my nice little chart that we have pulled up here, it's going to be the regulation mark G is coming out now, right? So rotating out in 2026 in April. And we're going to go over which ones I think are going to be the better buys as of right now, and what products I would say would be the best ones to go after if you can. So as you kind of laid here, we start with SV base. When it comes to the ones that got cycled out in April, in this past April, it's kind of hard to determine how that's going to play out going into next year, just because we were already in a crazy market at that point, and going into 2026 a little bit too. It's a little bit of a downturn, but at the same time, we could be seeing something change once these officially rotate out. Starting with the SV base, let's kind of go into it. We're going to look over the sets and the cards that are in it, and also the products that I think are going to be a good purchase. So let's kind of go into it. And so speaking of the regulation marks, not only can you look, the best way to look it up is going to be by the actual card themselves. If you want to get a pretty close accurate on which cards are actually going to be rotating out, what the regulation letter are, you pretty much you can go to Bulbapedia and kind of scroll down toward the cards. Where's the card list? Right here. And then you can kind of see here on all the cards printed, they all, especially for this first block of Scarlet Violet era, all of them are going to be letter G, right? Because it's a brand new era. They're not having anything from Sword and Shield. So a lot of them are all going to have letter G's on them. Now, when you get into the next block, which would be block H, those are going to have, sometimes you'll have like some carryover because some of the cards are going to be reprinted. So that's a good thing to kind of look at because a lot of people are saying that it's, every 2 years it cycles out. That's not quite the case because, again, with the regulation letters and the marks, that's going to tell you exactly which sets are being phased out and what cards are being reprinted. And most of the time, it's not going to be entire parts of a set. It's just going to be like one or two cards that get reprinted into the next set. All right, so kind of going over some of the cards in Scarlet and Violet base and just kind of get an idea of what the cards are. A lot of them are actually really, really good. But as far as the most popular ones, I'm going to say we're going to be looking at probably the first maybe 10 or 12. So obviously, the Gardevoir line, right? The evolution line is very popular. It tells a story. A lot of people love Gardevoir already, and there's a lot of collectors for that evolution set. So it's already pretty solid there. The Drowsy, of course, has seen some crazy things over the past year, but it's settled down around 30 is a good one. This Riolu card's really nice. The Miriam as well. As well as like the Slowpoke and the legendaries in this one. And you have also some other ones that are not as popular, but still pretty solid that people ask about pretty frequently, especially like the Fido here. So I think these are actually really, really good. Now, as of right now, I believe the booster box as of right now is still saying at a pretty, let me see if I can find it real quick. So the booster box is still sitting at a pretty decent price, $220 as of today. And Yeah, of course, it's gone down over the last month as everything else has, right? So it came off about like a high of like 250, so right down to like 220, so 10% discount from where it was before. Obviously, about a year ago, these were selling for about $100, which is when I got mine. So a decent return so far. But if you're gonna look at overall product price, I would say if you're going to look at overall price for the booster box, it's actually really not that bad considering what other base sets have done. So even when we go back and look at Sword and Shield booster box base set, which is arguably not as good as SV1, but I think long term it's actually going to be a good purchase, right? Because this one right now is at $630, and about a year ago, let's look at it. Was sitting about $331, $332 right before the huge boom. But still, as things get older, these products will start to appreciate slowly. Maybe not as much as they have been recently because it's just been pretty crazy. About maybe 10 to 15% a year is still pretty solid, especially if you just want to have it in your collection. I think it's a very solid buy at $220. What I like, and probably for this set, I'm not going to say that it's going to be the best one to go after. We're going to rank through all of them. So going back to the chart here, I'm going to kind of go through and rank them all. I think for SV base, if you can get Elite Trainer boxes, what I think are about $80 to $100 for either one of them. If you can get the Pokemon Center ones, those are going to be great too. But also like just booster boxes are going to be pretty solid here. It's not going to, so some of these I'm going to recommend getting some of the booster packs, but SV base I don't see being very popular in the long term for just booster packs. It's going to be more of like the Premier Sealed product. So for this one, I'm just going to kind of we're going to go through A through C, A plus being the highest, and then regular C just being the C grade. So with this one, I'm just going to put it as a B grade overall. I think it's probably one of the better base sets that we have outside of Mega Evolutions in a long time. So that's kind of where I'm at on this one. Now moving to Paldea Evolved. So a lot of good products with Paldea Evolved. Let's take a glance at the set and kind of go over it. So Paldea Evolved is probably going to be one of those stronger sets of this group that's being rotated out. Obviously, the Magikarp is going to be the number one, going to about 253 raw. And then we have like Tyranitar. The Raichu is a very popular one as two. The Iono Full Art. And then they got some other illustration rares that are pretty good. The Fuecoco is pretty popular. Meryl's good. I have that one, Heracross. So there's a lot of good illustration rares. Oh, can't forget Sudowoodo. There's a lot of good illustration rares on here that are about 20 or above. I think the last one that's about $20 is the Chinpao EX right there. So a pretty decent amount of cards that are 20 and above. Obviously, the big chase being the Magikarp. And that one's going to be probably the top chase out of this first block. And a lot of people down the line are probably going to want to rip these products to try to pull the Magikarp in a gradable copy because of how hard it is to grade. Obviously, we saw that huge rise over the spring and summer in this card because of that. And so I think it's going to be one of the stronger ones to look out for. All right, so now as far as what products to kind of go into for Paldea Evolved, there's quite a few that I think are going to be pretty solid. Obviously, the booster box is going to be the biggest one. Right now, it's at like 388, down almost 20% from its highest. I think this one is a good buy as of right now if you can get your hands on it. Usually in person, you can probably maybe get about 5 to 10% if you kind of negotiate with some people. Obviously, not at card shows. They're going to sell at market, but I'm just talking about like locally. If some people are going to want to move off of some of their boxes, definitely now is a good time. Because if you look at it, right, like in December, we're at like 386, right? It hasn't been that low since July. So I think it's a good purchase. Another one's going to be obviously like the Elite Trainer box. The Pokemon Center one, that's kind of wild. It's $600, so I definitely wouldn't go that route. But the standard one at $128 is going to be a pretty good buy. I think that's another one that's going to let's another collector's. It's a collector's item, so I think it has a premium on that. So not quite back down to where it was at the end of summer, but still not too bad. It's a good spot. So another one that I personally go for. I don't care what anybody says as far as, oh, it has chances of being tampered with. It can be weighed, which is ridiculous. I am a fan of going after booster packs. I don't know about anybody else. in the vendor space or at shows, but booster packs for me do incredibly well. Every time I brought out Evolving Skies, Fusion Strike, Chilling Reign, Lost Origins, all my booster packs sell like that. Now, of course, those are premier sets, but going into the future, these are probably going to be premier sets too, especially Paldea Evolved and some of the other ones we're going to get into. Unless you're a scumbag seller, booster packs are going to do pretty well for you, right? I mean, if you open them up, if you're doing rip and ships or just doing in person, it's pretty easy to build a good reputation. You just can't be an asshole. So I think Paldea Evolved booster packs are going to be a good, solid option. $10 a pack. Buy them as much as you can. If you can find them at retail or in reprinted products that might be coming out, whether I'm sure they're going to start putting them out in like mini tins or 2 to 3 pack mixed blisters sooner or later. Those are going to be the times I would suggest stacking some of those, honestly, because as of right now, I think they're pretty undervalued compared to like the sealed prices. So I always suggest booster packs all the time, no matter what. Now going back to our little chart here, again, solid set, probably one of the top tiers of this block. But for me, going into some of the other ones, I'm going to put this one as a B+ for me. Definitely love the set. I've pulled multiple of those Raichu, surprisingly. And so I think it's going to be solid long term. Now let's move into Obsidian Flames. So going into Obsidian Flames, this one's not as much as a desirable set, given that it's still a Charizard set. There was mixed reviews, even from like me, on how the cards looked. For me personally, I hate these crowns. They are stupid. I hope we stay away from them going into Mega Evolutions. I know the new Pikachu has it, but I just can't stand it. It's too busy of a card. I don't like it. But it still has some very good like Gen 1, Gen 2 Pokemon that are still going to be very popular going down the line. Obviously, like these right here, Ninetales, Cleffa, the Pidgey line, Gloom, Scizor, like all these are really, really good. Houndour's awesome. So they really featured quite a decent amount of Gen 1, Gen 2 on here that has pretty decent value. By the time you get to Scizor, you're looking at like a sub $10 card for the rest of them. Because on this set, the pull rates were extremely easy. I don't have the exact data in front of me, but pull rates were very easy. It's a fun set for people to open, kind of similar to Crown Zenith. Obviously not as a desirable set, but I think going into the future, people are going to love to rip this set just because they want to chase some of these, like these illustration rares that who knows if they're going to increase down the line, but some people that do like this Charizard or are nostalgic for this Charizard, I think are going to want to rip it. And if it's going to be a cheaper product, I think it's going to be a good solid option for them. Now, talking about what products I think are going to be good, let's kind of get into those. Now, of course, the ETB's going to be a hard sell, at least for me, because the Charmander is a very awesome card. It goes well with the Squirtle and Bulbasaur from Stellar Crown, but it also comes at a high premium. Looking at the Pokemon Center, you're looking at almost $600. And I think I don't even think that went down very much. Okay, it went down from like 700 to, so it's lost about $100 over the last month or so. Yeah, so it went down about $100 for the last month or so, but for me, I just think that's a eye-watering amount. I am not spending that much money on an ETB. The regular one's okay, like $160, but for me, I think the time has passed for that. I'm not going to be buying it at the price that it is right now. I think the booster box is still going to be a good idea. $291, down from where it was before. I think it was like $340. So I think the booster box is going to be a good idea. Again, it is still pretty high. I think if you look back at Silver Tempest or maybe even Astral Radiance are probably around that same price. Let's actually check it out real quick. Okay, so just kind of a little tangent here, kind of seeing where Astral Radiance and Silver Tempest is at. So Astral Radiance is at like $398, which is $100 more. But let's look at Silver Tempest real quick. Silver Tempest being at $419. It's kind of debatable whether or not you should probably go for Sword and Shield in this case, especially since Silver Tempest does have the better chase card for that Lugia V alt art. But it's kind of your decision up to that point. I think the Obsidian Flames booster box is still a pretty solid option, but you kind of have to debate whether or not you want to buy something a little bit older. They're both going out of, this one's going out of print soon, one's already out of print, so it's really up to you. But again, for me, another option that I would strongly suggest, getting the booster packs. Booster packs are about $8. If you look at current Mega Evolution pack prices for Phantasmal and MEO1, both of those are about $7 to $8. I think it's going to be a fun pack to open later down the line, but it's not the strongest set for me, honestly. So I would say you can probably go elsewhere instead, and we'll get into the other ones and kind of compare also to some Sword and Shield at the very end. All right, and so going back into the chart that we have on this one, again, it's not the best set. It might be fun later down the line, but for me, I would put this very at the bottom of my priority if I'm going to start buying more of this product. I'm leaving it at a C. I have one booster box. Maybe I'll get another one of these days, but I think I'm good on that. So getting those three out of the way, we're moving into the biggest one of this block. So 151. Obviously, this one's had a very up and down road since it came out quite a bit ago, which I actually honestly forgot to go over some of the release dates. But for 151 came out in September of 2023. The three prior sets came out in SV Base was March, Paldea Evolved was in June, and Obsidian Flames was in August. So kind of going back on that real quick, just kind of retracing. One thing to note is that people always say, oh, 2 years it's going to be axed and rotated out. That's not always the case. Some of these sets are all borderline 3 years old at this point when they get rotated out, and they're still getting some kind of reprints. Obviously, we're not going to get a lot of booster box reprints or elite trainer box reprints, but that time's already passed, right? That happened a year and a half ago for most of the stuff. So, and that's why GameStop had, the buy one get one half off, or buy two get one free for ETBs, because they were just sitting on shelves for a long period of time. It's just up to recently that things have shifted. But yeah, so you have to kind of go into the data and see what regulation marks that they have to be able to note which ones are being phased out. All right, but yeah, let's check out 151 and kind of see where that stuff is at. Obviously, we need little to no introduction on the cards that are in it, right? The big three: Charizard, Venusaur, Blastoise, Zapdos, and then the other starters: Alakazam, Pikachu, the whole 9 yards, right? The set is pretty stacked all the way through. Even some of the full arts having, being over $20. And obviously some of these have taken a hit. The more that they've been reprinting this set, the more these prices have tanked, and as well as just a downturn. But I love seeing this beautiful chart right here. You can see these ebbs and flows of the cycle for just the whole year, right? I think even before this, it was like maybe $150, maybe $100 before things got really wild. But yeah, so the big surge earlier this year to 261. During the summer went all the way down to 170, then it came back up to 266, and then now it's coming back down, falling to, where is it at right now? Like 197. So, well, I think that's for lightly played. Let's put near mint. So like 250, 260. As they continue to reprint this set, we're going to continue to see these prices of these cards kind of stay a little bit stagnant, which is fine. And especially recently, they did a big restock on 10s across the board. I think it was Sam's. Sam's did their 10 release again, and then also there was 10 displays, which explains why I have this one. This has to be probably one of my favorite products that they have out, and probably one of the most slept on pieces that are out there for sealed. This is a sealed mini 10 display. I got this. If you saw my video about the PayPal cashback, came out to about $220 shipped. If I do the quick math, let me look. So it came out to about $220 shipped. There's 20 packs in here. Quick math, $11 a pack. even as of right now, I think some stores are selling it for $2.70 a pack. So if we do look at that, it's about $13.50 a pack. And then let's kind of go into it and explain why I think that should be high on your list if you're looking for sealed product for $151. All right, and so kind of glancing through some of these, right, especially once we look at the booster pack price, we're looking at about $15, $16 shipped per pack. As I just told you, for the mini tin display, if you can find a decent deal either in person or online at a store, I think it's a good idea to try to find the lowest pack price, which for me, again, that was a steal. But if we go back and look at it, so let's find out where it is. If we look at a booster bundle, right? 6 packs, $96. This is before taxes or anything. So depending on your state, it can be a lot different. But just looking at the market price of what it is, divide that by 6, you're talking about $16 a pack. Okay? So we go into the tin display at $275, right? Also, again, 20 packs, $13.75. I don't get it. Why is the thing not like $350? I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think this is a very slept on product. I think, yeah, people love the booster bundles or even the booster bundle display, but the premium is so fucking high on it. $13.72. Let's do that. Let's just do $13.75. 60 packs. Can you see it? $23 a pack. What the fuck? What is happening here? Why are people not buying more of these? I love the way this looks. This is a fucking cool display piece. And it's small. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger than a booster box, but not by much. Like here. Like looking at it side by side, maybe a little bit, right? Here. Yeah, it's about half the size, but does it really matter? Most of us have probably crazy displays anyway. I don't see why that those aren't selling more. I see those all the time. Those should be way more expensive. So if you're trying to find 151 sealed products and you're trying to get the best pack value, go for the mini tins. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Anyways, I riffed on that enough, but let's go back to our chart. All right. So back in our chart, here I think is everybody's going to be wanting this set. Everybody loves it. The OGs in the hobby are definitely going to want to rip it. Younger people are going to rip it that just got into the hobby. And even later down the line, people are going to want to rip this. And even the booster pack price at $15, that's going to climb easily, especially when this phases out. Anytime a set phases out, there's always a leg up, like almost immediately. Let's check that out. I think, let's look up Silver Tempest. So this was like a prime example. So Silver Tempest, $263. I don't think it was available on Pokemon Center anymore, but we were already kind of shifting into a crazy market, and this is already kind of climbing up pretty quickly. But once it's officially phased out, $263, boom, $360 and kind of settled down to like $340. So from $260, almost up by $100 within like 3 weeks. So that's the prime example of what can happen when these sets rotate, because people are now realize, oh shit, that's it. It's not getting any reprints, which you shouldn't expect reprints anyway. This stuff is old as shit now. This is going 3 years old now. You're not gonna get this, especially a booster box for any of the main sets. You're not gonna get that reprint at all. That's what this is the main reason why I'm making this video, is that we're in a downturn. You should try to get some of these products if you've been wanting to add this to your collection. Let's get into the next one. Paradox Rift, the thorn in everybody's side, one of the main sets that didn't do good for a very, very long time. Let's look at it. Not much going for it, right? Very weak set. Groudon and Altaria are going to be the biggest chases here, as well as the Roaring Moon. Minion and Plusor are actually pretty cool. I think those two together are actually pretty awesome duo. I do like those. The Garchomp is a good one. Goldango too. It pairs with the other one. I forget what set the other half is from. And then the Steelix is really cool, and then some other ones. So it gets down pretty quickly to cards that are less than $20. So you have about 10 of them in total. So a weak set overall. I don't think we need to spend much time on it. I mean, if you can get booster boxes, cool, but I think some other sets would be better use of your money if you're trying to add to your collection, just because I don't even remember. Let's look at what the booster box price is. Let's see. So $237. I'd rather have Mega Evolutions. I'd rather have Phantasmal. Stellar Crown's a good one. Surging Sparks would be even better choice, even though that's printed to hell more than Paradox Rift. So I'm not a huge advocate of this. I think the Groudon long term is going to be pretty good. So I think if you want a single, you can go with that. It's not much of an investment choice. It's more just like a preference. But I think you can use your money elsewhere for this one. So for that one, we're not going to spend much time on it. That's going to definitely be a C rating for me. If I was going to choose between the two, I'd probably go Obsidian more, just because more of the cards are cooler than what's in Paradox. But again, it's a preference. Now, Paldean Fates. Paldean Fates is an interesting one. So this one released in January 26th of 2024. So this one, I have a love-hate relationship with it, because I'm not a huge fan of the shinies and it's such a large set. But for others that like to master set, this is one of those that people will continue to try to do down the line. So let's look at it. All right. So another one that doesn't need much of an introduction. We know the big hits from this one. We have obviously the Bubble U, $500. Let's kind of check. I haven't looked at this in a while. Like, how down is it? It looks down bad. Woo! All right. Almost a $700 card in September, and it's gone down in the last 3 months, almost 23%. So about a $500 card now. And it looks like it's just now starting to find a bottom, but we'll see how the next couple weeks go. So there's that one. Obviously, the Charizard's another good one. Gardevoir, and also all the baby shinies. The baby shinies are what probably carries the set a little bit more. But again, about 10 cards-ish that are above the $20 mark. So it kind of falls off pretty quickly. But again, all the shinies, there's so many in this set that, again, it's going to be one of those that people want to master set. And so let's kind of look at some products that I think are going to be a good idea. So number one, I think if you can get any of the restocks that have been continuing on this season, the holiday season, I think the Great Tusk collection is going to be the number one thing. I got myself a few of these, thankfully, on Walmart when they had the drop. 11 total packs. I think I paid $81 after taxes for each one. So that comes out to what? Let me do some quick math. About $7.30 a pack. That's a phenomenal price point to get into, I think. So if you can get into these are going to be great. So I see these things plastered all over Facebook Marketplace for about $100, less if you buy multiple. I think those are going to be another solid buy, because even at $100, you're looking at $9 a piece. So I think that's a pretty solid buy in the long term, because again, once it phases out, there's the reprint window's gone. You may be seeing it in like some small tins and trickle into stores, very few and far between. And another one I think would be a good option. Again, I'm going to say it again. I do really well with booster packs. Rip and ships are a thing. As long as you're not an a-hole, as long as you're not a scammer, as long as you're not trying to rip people off by resealing, booster packs do fine everywhere I've been. Every single show that I brought booster packs in, they sell, unless it's the pack that they don't want. I have a lot of Brilliant Stars in this case for that, but that's people's preference. But being as one of the top sets of this rotation block, I don't think you can go really wrong. I think by the end of next, if things go back to normal, I still think this is going to be probably like a $12 to $15 pack by the end of next year. Could be as early as when it rotates in April. Who knows? But I think booster packs are heavily slept on this, and I think it'd be a good option for you to go for it. All right, so looking back in our chart, I'm going to give that a solid A. So down the order, down the line of what I think are going to be the ideal places to buy any in this block are going to be these three from top to bottom: 151, Paldea Fates, and Paldea Evolved. It wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe get some of the SV base because, again, it's probably one of the better base sets that we've had, except for MEO1. So I think it's a good spot. And again, it's about the same price. So if you were able to get like Mega Evolutions from like a vending machine or something, I would say that would be a good thing to like kind of trade. And in my honest opinion, because you can probably get another one, and it's probably going to end up going down to MSRP. Same thing with Phantasmal Flames. I think that they are printing so much, and I think that given the market and given how much is going to be coming out, especially with that new printing facility coming out, I think the Mega Evolution block is going to be around for a while. And I think if you can grab some of those and trade for older out of print sets, that's going to be a pretty solid move, especially for SV base. The other two, Obsidian Flames, Paradox Rift, I'm not really all about it. I mean, I might get some packs just to have to make like little bundle deals and stuff. And if people want to buy loose packs, I think that's a good idea. Same thing with Obsidian Flames, but I'm just not putting a lot of my money into those when there's other sets that I think are way more valuable. But final thoughts, I wanted to kind of go back and look at some Sword and Shield stuff just to kind of give you guys some ideas of what else you can look for, given how the prices are for this block that's being rotated. All right, so I did want to look at a few of these before we go. Just some honorable mentions of some other things that you might want to go after. Fusion Strike for about $13 a pack is a good option. Typically, if you go to live shows, you can see people probably selling this for about $10 a pack, which if you look back on all the other stuff that we've had, it's a pretty solid option. Obviously, pull rates are a lot harder. The chases are a lot more expensive, so that might do very well long term. Looking at Chilling Rain, another good one. That Moltres alt art is still a very desirable card. This one's going for about $10 a pack. Another good one that I would suggest, instead of hoarding like Destined Rivals or even the new Mega Evolution sets that are anywhere between like $7 to $10 a pack, I think these are a much better option to go for. Brilliant Stars. This one's kind of hard to exactly. Obviously, they have like the Trainer Gallery, they have the Charizard, they have the Arceus, so those cards are all going to be pretty solid in the long term. But it's kind of hard to say because I have about 70 sleeve booster packs of Brilliant Stars, and I've maybe sold 6 over the last few shows, so it's kind of hard to say for sure. But just given that it's an older product, I think you can probably do pretty good with that. And then the last but not least, Lost Origin. I like Lost Origin a little bit more than Fusion Strike. The Espeon is my favorite Pokemon when I played the games, but I don't really like the artwork very much. The Aerodactyl is way cooler in my opinion, and obviously the Giratina is like the big chase besides the Umbreon, I think, of Sword and Shield. So they've come down a little bit of ways from where they were at the peak. They're like $12 for a loose pack, but now it's at like $9, or now it's at $10 shipped. 4,000 packs still available. Only 9 sell a day. So right now, it would probably be a good idea if you're looking to just have an entry point to some of these items, I think booster packs are a good spot. Again, obviously, some people are going to be hesitant, but people that, again, I'm going to say it one more time, they do really well in person, and I'm pretty sure in rip and ships, as long as you're reputable, as long as you're trustworthy, as long as you have a good reputation and keep it, you're not going to have a problem. But yeah, I did want to spend some time to kind of educate on how to exactly know what sets are getting rotated out every April. So I am going to do another one at the end of the year next year. Once we get closer to that time, that's going to be the H block, and it's going to be the next part of Scarlet Violet here, from Temporal Forces all the way through Journey Together. And you can kind of see here, there's going to be some mixtures there, but that's for a later time. But let me know what you guys think about the video. Thanks for watching. What are some products that you think that you're going to be open to buying? What are you looking for the most out of these? Is it 151? Is it Paldea Fates, or Paldea Evolved? Let me know down in the comments below. But other than that, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys on the next one.